Welcome to the Leadership Table podcast, hosted by myself, Danielle, and Chad Reyes, where mature leaders have mature conversations. And today, we're actually going to talk about why we started the Leadership Table podcast and what is mature, who are mature leaders and what are mature conversations? What do they look like? Are you ready?
I'm excited. I am. I think a lot of podcasts have some great information, but require some challenging conversations. And I think our leadership podcast, the Leadership Table podcast, is really designed to have some difficult conversations around a table. Yeah.
Yep, and that's what we're going to do today.
That's it. Let's jump in.
All right. One of the things is, right, what is a mature leader, right? Who are the people that we're inviting on?
Yeah.
Maturity, is our mentor friend John Maxwell says that maturity doesn't come with age.
Sometimes
age comes alone. Exactly. So let's just speak about some of the guests that we are inspiring and excited to bring on.
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, when you think about it, when it comes to mature leaders is not only, like you said, based on age. Mature leaders is based off of a maturity that they have.
Right.
And maturity requires seasoning and time. So all the leaders that we're bringing on to have conversations, these are people that have bore fruit. They've seen success, and I don't mean just financial success. I mean results and fruit in their life.
Right.
And you and I both know that the goal of this podcast is to really give access to these to our audience, to these people that have had fruit in their life, and all of them have different different backgrounds. You know, like when I think of my brother and who's leading in the baseball world, well, he's impacted in one way. And then I think of Diana. Diana has built a global leadership coaching company through Keller Williams and has impacted people globally.
Right.
But then you think of Dr. Chris Auger, and he has been in, as a Navy SEAL and talking about his life and leadership through that lens. So I just think it's what John Maxwell said many years ago when you and I were traveling to one of the events that we were at, or maybe traveling to one of the countries we were with him. He said that a leadership that hasn't been tested can't be trusted.
Right.
And really, the people that we're bringing on these podcasts are people that have been tested. Because if they're tested, then typically they can be trusted.
I love that. Because it's right, their wisdom, the wisdom that each one of them carry from their experience, from their life. I love hearing about the failures, right? And then the successes. I know we talk about on our podcast how success and failure are best friends. So I just love bringing that aspect to the table, because it's not just talking about success, which a lot of podcasts or even just leaders in general, right? They love to talk about their success. But let's have real, mature conversations in what they have failed at, how they learned, and and just.
Well, to your point, success is great, and when you look at success, right, you can look at success and say, "Wow, look, they have success," but that doesn't tell you how they did it.
Right.
All that does is a snapshot in time telling you that they have success. How they did it is through mature conversations of talking about the successes, the failures, the learning, the challenges, the blood, the sweat, the tears. I think a lot of people, especially the younger generation, I think that they think that success just shows up one day. You just wake up and one day you're successful, when really there's a process of many, 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 many years of just giving your best, and sometimes giving your best and failing.
Yeah, I agree. And that is one of the reasons why we have the podcast, right? Is our heart is also for the next generation. There's a lot of, and I'm gonna be real here, right? Mature conversation is there's a lot of crap out there, or there's a lot of stuff that is being fed to that generation, especially on social media, that they could get rich quick, right? But there's work that needs to be done. There's intentionality. There's accountability, and these conversations we're hoping and believing
Real
that
conversations.
they're going to be real, and people of all ages are going to be attracted to what we're talking about, and that we're going to speak truth and have real
I was
conversations.
just thinking of a conversation you and I had with someone a couple of days ago, and you remember when they were talking about this coach that was online. I won't say the coach's name, but they were saying about this coach that's online that's telling people how to do all these amazing things, but they've never done anything. They've never led anything. They've never built anything.
Right.
And I just think that the Leadership Table podcast, and we can commit to that, is we're going to bring people on that have shown results in their life.
Right.
We're not going to bring someone on who sounds good, but there's no substance and character to them. I was just asked, remember we were at the CEO roundtable that I was moderating, right?
Yes.
And the question that they asked me was, what is one of the two most important, or the one most important characteristic of a leader? And I said two things. I said the first is character, and the second is intentionality.
Yes.
If you're intentional but you lack character, you manipulate people. If you have character and intentionality, you become a great leader. And that's what you and I have made a decision, that this Leadership Table podcast is going to be about bringing people on that have character, people that have intentionality, and to add value to the people so that they can grow themselves. And the truth of it is that not every conversation is easy.
No. And actually it leads right into our next point. One of the topics that we wanted to talk about, right, is give more than you take.
Well, listen, it is a struggle that most people have because they've been taught that you take more than you give. And when you're in any type of relationship, when you're taking more than you give, you eventually have a deficient notice. And that's what you see a lot of happening with organizations and leaders today. I think of our nephew, and I see things that he is watching, and I'm like, well, those people are not talking about adding value. They're talking about taking value.
Correct.
You can't see long-term success in anything if you're taking more than you're giving. And I know for you and I, whenever we work with clients, when we work with people, we're always saying, how do we give more? And sometimes, and this is the struggle, sometimes giving more doesn't feel like it's more to people, right?
Right.
Because a mature leader understands when I give, sometimes where I'm giving stuff and I'm sacrificing or I'm challenging you, not because I want to challenge, I'm challenging you because I want you to be better. And if you show up better, then everyone around you gets better. But sometimes it's not perceived that way or received that way.
Well, okay. So I just want to say it correctly. So I'm like, give me a moment. Take more than you...
Give more than you take.
Give more than you take. Yeah. But then also when something is out of exchange.
Yeah.
Right? That was the word I was looking for.
4 conditions of exchange.
Yeah. Correct. So talk about that and share with our audience, because when you're out of exchange, I think that's what happens to mature leaders. Believe that giving, but if there is really not an exchange, you actually are out of exchange because the other person now doesn't feel valued, actually. And that's something that a mature leader wants, right? Is we want others to feel valuable in our giving. Is not just to give. And
well, we had a coach many years ago that pretty much said to us that people need to feel it in exchange. Meaning, if you're giving, and they don't give back, eventually they feel like they're robbing you.
Right.
And one of the things with this podcast is you and I committed to wanting to give and keep adding value to people. But one of the things that I'm hoping that the audience is doing is saying, how do I add value back to them? Because we never want to be in a position where we're giving and they're not.
Right.
Now, we know that the podcast, we're not charging for the podcast. We're bringing some of our best friends and some of the greatest leaders we know to the table. But how do they give back?
Listen, you could share, comment.
Yeah.
That's how you could give back.
But in all actuality, when you think about this, you wanna. We're here and we're giving you our best week in and week out. And I ask you to share what you know, On previous podcasts, I've shared about being a river. What is a river? A river gives value to everything around it. A river adds life to the ecosystem around them. And I would say this, that our heart is that we're going to give you our best. We're going to show up and give you our best. But what we're asking you to do is add value to people around you. Share what you know. Share the podcast. Share the knowledge that you're learning. Share the stuff that you're gleaning from all these great leaders. Because the truth of it is that when you share, you actually grow your influence. Some people share because they want to sound smart. But most people who share with the right intentions, they get more influential because they're adding value to people's lives. And I think that is our heart, is we want to see mature leaders have mature conversations, and we want to see mature leaders share these conversations.
Well, one of the notes as we were preparing, right? Building a lasting legacy.
Yeah.
It's not just our legacy, but those that we bring on, those that are listening. We want to bring people into the environment that want to pour into people and organizations with a purposeful heart and vision to leave a lasting legacy. Yeah. This is not to stay here, as you're saying, correct, right? Yeah. The river and the reservoir. But we need to, we're here so that this continues, and that even the knowledge and wisdom and information is timeless. Yeah. So it goes on for generations.
And I would even say this, that if there are people that are listening to this podcast and they have phenomenal leaders in their lives that they think would be a great fit for this podcast, I would encourage them to email us, right? So you can email us at chad@LionsPrideLeadership or Danielle@LionsPrideLeadership.com and just say, hey, I know someone who's a phenomenal leader. They add tremendous value to people's lives, and I think that they would do phenomenally well on the Leadership Table podcast, because the truth of it is, Danielle and I, our heart is to keep adding value to people. But what that requires is it requires us to continue to bring people to the table. So if you know great people, if you are someone who's a phenomenal leader making a major difference in your life, and there's fruit to show for it, let us know, because we would love to maybe have you at the table. But that requires, and I just want to give some characteristics around it. It means that you live a life of integrity. It means that you value people. It means that you're intentional in things that you do. It means that you're a good team member. It means that you have proven success of doing things with excellence.
It means that you're fat.
It means that you're fat. What does fat mean? Ooh, baby. Fat means faithful, available, and teachable.
I love that. Some are slimmed down.
Yeah. Some are slim fats. Some are slim, faithful, slim, available, slim, teachable.
Love that. Love that. One of the other things that we've built out is not only the Leadership Table podcast, but also the Leadership Table discussion. And I just want to actually talk about
leadership
that
tables,
is our leadership tables. So you may not be somebody that wants to sit at this table, or you may be somebody that does. We can also bring tables to your organization, to your church, to your business, to your network, to your school, and have a leadership table that are mature leaders having mature conversations.
Yeah. What I'd like to just share with you is that on the leadership table, right? The leadership tables, and you can find the leadership tables at chadrayas.com/the leadership tables. The leadership table, singular. But what I think is really important is that most people don't put themselves in an environment where they could have leadership conversations. Right. And I know your heart and my heart is to see impact happen locally, nationally, and globally, right? And for that to happen, leaders need to have mature conversations. And we've seen it with the work that we've done with John Maxwell on transformation tables, and now we're seeing it with the work that we're doing on the leadership table impact. Maybe maybe you can share a little bit about what leadership tables are, and I'll kind of add some value to that as well.
Well, we have designed a video plus a booklet to be able to go through a bunch of principles. Actually, it comes from our book, my husband's book, Awaken Your Potential. That's the theme of those tables, at least the conversations. And we're just, listen, we know it's made a tremendous impact.
Yeah.
We've been in universities already. We've been in businesses. And we're seeing a movement.
Churches, Fortune 500 companies using it. And it is a movement. And the reason why it's a movement is this, is that anything that gets better requires a leader to lead it. That's it. So if we're going to grow an organization, it's because a leader said, I'm going to step up. If we're going to grow a church, it's because a leader said, I'm going to step up. If we're going to develop youth to be leaders, it's because someone in that school said,
Yes.
I'm going to step up. And that's what leadership tables are. We actually provide you with the framework. You know, one of the things that we've done is we've recorded series of videos that you can go in. You don't need to purchase the book. I mean, I'd love for you to purchase the book because there's a lot of really valuable information there that could change your life. But we've created these short little 10-minute videos, 10 or 12-minute videos that you can play in your group and then have a whole discussion around it, around a leadership table.
Yeah, and it's facilitated. So that means that the person bringing the leadership table in does not need to be a coach, a therapist.
Nothing.
Now, they just need to start the conversation, a mature conversation, and allow everyone to participate. And one of the values is really actually listen.
Yeah.
It's to listen to those peers around you and have a mature conversation with mature leaders.
Yeah, it is. I would really encourage you to start your own table, because this is the thing that I know, and I'll share this, and I hope you hear my heart on it. You can sit down every Monday and listen to the Leadership Table podcast every Monday, and you're going to grow. I promise you'll grow, because we're going to bring some great leaders around. We're going to have some great conversations. But I will tell you this. You will exponentially grow when you start your own leadership table and you start now having conversations, and you invite 4, 6, 8 people around the table to talk about leadership principles that can develop and grow you.
Would you share the statistics of that?
Yeah. You know, studies show that you'll only apply 5 to 10% of what you're actually learning when you're just listening to a video or someone teach. However, that number will go to 50 to 70 to 90% when you start applying it, when you start discussing it, and then you start sharing it with others. So the whole methodology behind why and how we created leadership tables is based off of that. It's that, I want leaders to have great conversations. I want leaders to learn. I want them to listen to what we're doing. But then I want them to learn. I want them to apply. I want them to discuss. And then I want them to share it with others. And when you use that methodology, it's called the learning pyramid. When you use that methodology, you see tremendous growth in the people around the table. And that's really our heart. Our heart is not just for you to come and just learn, but it's to take what you learn.
Just get fat in another regard.
Yeah. It's to take what you learn and then apply it and learn it and share it. Because that's where you're going to build relationships. And we really want to encourage you to take this leadership table movement to your home, around your dinner table, to your business, to your church, to your business networking group. Because what's going to happen is the leadership table conversations are going to then create a movement of people that are having mature conversations. And that's how things get better. Leaders make things better. Followers don't. I'm not saying followers are not great people. They can be great people. But leaders will make things better because leaders create movement. Followers follow that movement. And as a leader, as you at being a leader, I want to encourage you, create movement. We'll do everything possible to resource you to be impactful.
I have to say, I didn't have, now that going through this, right? And then one of the reasons why we have started it is we recognize that I know for me growing up, we didn't have mature conversations. I mean, again, I had loving parents. I have a very good work ethic. I mean, like, like a great
Sometimes so good that she pushes me to have to work harder.
a great support system, but the mature conversations to be able to share emotion or be able to control your emotion, right? Be able to get down to a root cause or issue, or even speak about topics that are not popular to speak about.
Yeah.
I want to be in the unpopular area of conversations, but in the popular podcast of mature leaders having mature conversations.
Can I speak to that for a second?
Yes.
Because I think one of the biggest struggles right now that's happening in our culture is the conversations that people are having are superficial.
Yes. Agreed.
And I'm going to call it what it is. It's superficial conversations that never really address real issues. Case in point, they want results, so they're talking about just the things that will hopefully drive the results, but they're never talking about things that are driving belief systems. And one of the things that you and I have committed to is this leadership table will be about addressing belief systems. Because I know from scientific proof, I know from 20 plus years of leadership training and impacting organizations that we work with, I know that a thought impacts belief systems, beliefs impact behaviors, and behaviors create results. I can tell you this, that the Leadership Table podcast is all about impacting belief systems, because that's where lasting change occurs.
I love that. That's exactly it.
That's it.
Are you ready to have more leadership tables?
Yes,
I am.
I mean, at the end of the day, and I'll share this with you, because you as the audience, you can impact your community. You could impact your organization. You can impact your family. We're welcoming you into the conversation. We're welcoming you to have a seat at the table. We want you to have a seat at the table, and the best way to do that is to get involved. I remember I was talking with one of the most influential mayors in the world, one of the most influential mayors. And I said to them, I said, so-and-so, it's very easy for people to throw rocks at you,
Right.
and to criticize you when they're doing it from the stands.
Right.
They're not
They're not
playing
in the
the game.
game.
They're not in the game. And
Right.
the reason why I'm bringing that up is leaders get in the game. If you're a leader, you can't sit in the stands and comment about the people that are playing the game and expect to have influence and moral authority. Get in the game. Get in the game of developing leaders, developing yourself, having mature conversations around the table. It's so easy. And I know, because as I've stepped out as a leader, as you've stepped out as a leader, we get critiqued more. And I'm very comfortable with getting critiqued.
We do.
But this is the thing. When you critique and you're not in the game, it's because you're a fan. When you critique and you're in the game, that's because you want to get better. So when you get in the game and you want to critique, that's called improvement. When you critique and you're in the stands, that's called gossip. And great leaders improve, they don't gossip.
You have to be a mature leader, though, to be okay with getting criticized and get in the game.
Yeah.
And we're ready to play a bigger game. And that's why we're super excited for this series, this podcast, and we're looking forward to hearing more from you. I want to hear your biggest takeaway from today. I want to hear if you know somebody, or you're somebody that wants to be on the podcast, and if you're somebody that wants to start a leadership table.
Now, let me jump in there. If you're someone that wants to start a leadership table, I want to introduce you to our friend Patrick.
Yes.
Patrick is the head of the Global Leadership Table Movement. His email is Patrick, Patrick, at lionsprideleadership.com. Patrick will do everything possible to resource you to start leadership tables in your community, in your country, in your organization, So I just want to encourage you, reach out to Patrick. Patrick is waiting for you to say, I want to start leadership tables.
And if you want to hear more about that too, we have a podcast that with Patrick himself, you could listen and tune in and
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
More
Just want to
information.
encourage you to go and check out that podcast. But I'll say this. Thank you for joining us on the leadership table. Today's conversation was really about what are leadership tables? How can you get involved? How can you develop yourself? But this is the thing. Mature leaders have mature conversations. That's the first part of it. The second part of it is leaders who want to make a difference, they step out. It's very simple. You step out.
They get in the game.
Get in the game. And we're welcoming you to join the leadership conversation game. Join us at the table. Thank you for joining us at this Leadership Table podcast conversation.
And we'll see you next time.
God bless you.
Bye.